Gorman. Here. Kaiser. Kramer. Here. Steele.
Here.
Tomcheck.
Once again.
Zegro. Here. Student Rep. Carly. Here. All present.
Thank you. Item number 3 is the Pledge of Allegiance. Guys, you go forward.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 is the approval of the agenda as presented this evening. We have a motion by Kaiser, second by Kramer. Further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5 is the approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes this evening. One set from a special Board of Education meeting that took place on October 24th, 2017 to review policies. And the second set, which is our regular Board of Education meeting from October 24th, 2017. I'm looking for a motion and a second for approval.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Gorman. Oh, that was Mike. Sorry, Mike. Motion by Kaiser, second by Lewis. To approve the minutes as presented. Further discussion from the board.
Yes, I do have an item that I'd like to talk about. In old business of Tuesday, October 24th, regular board meeting minutes. The statement down on the bottom, Tom Check stated that board is failing to provide leadership on the science department decisions, and they are ill-prepared to make a decision on an issue that has been before the board for many years. I would like that stricken from the record.
You have no right to strike my statements. You have no standing, no right, sir.
Then we should encompass and bring in all the rest of them. I'm interested to know if that was a true representation of that comment and that dialogue by the rest of the board members.
I feel it's not a true statement of what was said. I feel if you want to go back, and we should bring the video back then and play it. And I agree that other comments should be made because this is kind of saying like the board was not prepared at all, and that's not what the comment was.
So I'm standing behind my motion.
So we do have a motion and a second. Further discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
I'd like to point out to this board that 5 members of this board voted to table because they required more information. While our staff had presented quite an extensive PowerPoint that was made available to the board 5 days prior to the board meeting. Since that time, and I confirmed this with Dr. Schultz prior to this meeting today at about 3 o'clock, only 2 of those 5 members had met with her to get further information. So I'd question tonight whether those 5 are indeed still prepared to make a decision on an important issue in front of the board. And also caution this board to change statements made by a board member, supported by that board member, ascertained, perhaps not the right word. I stand by those statements because you will end up rechanging those minutes again. No one has a right to change those statements.
I think that's a reflection of what happened at the last meeting, and I think Corey is correct in his analogy.
So you don't believe there was any other comments that were made during that time except for that one?
Corey?
No, I mean any other comments
If you
that were
think
made?
there are comments that should be added, then speak now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think if we're gonna
No,
just
if-
put it, I believe if there were other statements that were made, and I do not believe this is a true representation of what was said that night during that time. Basically, from what Mr. Alice had said at that time was that the board wanted to reflect and get more information and or think about it longer at the time of what we received that evening and prior to that meeting. Correct.
That's not the motion before us. The motion before us is to strike my comments. So again, I will state that my comments stand, and no board member on any board has the right to strike someone else's comments. End of story. If you'd like to add comments, Then
The,
please add your comments.
the records are public record, and in no case do I recall, and I'm interested in others' interpretation, the word leadership is provided in your dialogue. So I feel it's appropriate to strike that sentence.
I don't care what you think, Kevin, because you don't have the right to strike my comments. End of story. Beat it to death all you want.
Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward with the vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes as
I'm gonna be abstaining.
all those in favor of approving the minutes as presented?
Hold on. You've got a motion and a second on the floor to change them?
No, I have a motion and a second to approve.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to move to vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes as presented? Keep in mind, there is a public record of the entire meeting that took place in the form of video. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Alice,
Yes.
Barnes,
Abstain.
Lewis,
Yes.
Gorman,
No.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Krautkramer,
No.
Theo,
No.
Tomcheck,
Yes.
Zebro.
Motion fails.
4-4. Motion fails. Anyone want to make another motion? Anything to add?
I would make the motion that we review the video and make sure that the statement that is said here is word for word correct. If so, we can bring it back and approve it at next month's meeting.
I would make a motion we only consider.
We have a
Wait.
motion.
Okay.
Does anyone second Diane's motion?
I'll second that.
So Diane, your motion is to review the video
And if this is-
now?
No, not now. I don't think we have to approve this. I mean, we brought minutes back again and approved them at a further, at another meeting. But if we're gonna put just one statement made by one board member at that time, I think it should be made sure that it is exactly correct that it's stated in the meeting here.
So your motion really is to table the approval of the minutes until we've had time to review.
Correct.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second that.
She seconded.
Okay, so we have a motion by Gorman, seconded by Krautkramer. Further discussion?
I want everyone on the board to understand, I will not retract anything I've said at that meeting. I stand by every word I uttered at that meeting. I still believe it was an act of cowardice. And let that be reflected in the minutes, verbatim.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Roll call. Let's do roll call.
Lewis,
Aye.
Gorman,
Yes.
Kaiser,
No.
Krautkramer,
Yes.
Theo,
Yes.
Tomcheck,
Sure? Yes.
Zebro,
Yes.
Alice,
Yes.
Barnes.
Abstain.
We'll review and bring it back to the next meeting. Item number 6 is the public forum. Both sets of minutes, was that motion, just to confirm, both sets of minutes?
Yes, because they were carried into one. So, yeah.
Okay. Item number 6 is the public forum. The public forum provides the public with the opportunity to ask questions about or address issues included on the school board meeting agenda. General operating rules of the public forum will be determined by the board president once the number of people wishing to speak is identified on the night of the meeting. Prior to addressing the board, please clearly state your name and address. Is there anyone in the audience this evening that would like to address the board? 2 individuals. Anyone else who would like to address the board? All right, go ahead, Tom.
Tom Fitzgerald. Address is 930 Wyandotte Road, Mosinee, Wisconsin.
You want to talk right away?
Sure. I'm really here as a parent tonight, but of course I'm a science teacher at the high school. I'm referring to the old business of the science room solution, specifically the addition, the wing addition. I just first want to thank you for your time and what you do. I know it's a thankless job, so thank you for that. You have a lot of hard decisions to make. I really think, personally, this is an easy decision to make. I student taught here in 1998 with Mrs. Brimmer, and I went through my file today, and I pulled out plans for renovation of her room. This is really old business, really old business. Thank you for visiting the room, seeing what it's like, but that's all it is a visit. I'm in there every single day. I'm on the front line, so to speak. So I deal with that, the safety issues every day. I deal with the learning environment every day. We make it work. I've taught since 2001, so I've been there for 17 years. We've made it work, but we can make it so much better. You've been, I don't know if you call it approved by Mr. Zimmerman. He says it's in the budget. I know it's a big sum of money, but, and I think I can speak with the rest of the science team, we're recommending as teachers, as experts who are in the front lines every day, teaching every day in those rooms, that we have this addition. That's what we're recommending to you, okay? So I hope you have thought about this, but I'm just telling you that from the front lines, something needs to be done. This is really old business, and I know a lot of you, you weren't on the board in 1998, but this has been around and around many times, and something needs to be done. So, thank you for your time again. I apologize for leaving, but my son's a priority. There's a hockey game going on right now, and I'm gonna go watch it, so.
Thanks, Mr. Fitzgerald. I know the first name's Earl, I don't know the last name. I apologize.
Earl Ashton, 1109 Kresge Street, here in Mosinee. First question I guess I have, I think it goes back to the last meeting when the proposal to pass or on these two referendums, or not referendums, but proposals to either spend $1.5 million or spend $5 million. I think there was valid questions there. And I still haven't found the answers, and I probably should have got, but pardon me, I was medically down for a month, just getting back on my feet. But the question at that time was, if we approve $1.5 million, that's a temporary fix to fix the labs. If we spend $5 million, we can add classrooms, give them new labs. That frees up some space. The real question that I think Kevin kept on asking wasn't whether it wasn't being conveyed right or what, I don't know. The real question is, if you approve $5 million to take care of this, what does that leave left out of that CISA report that still needs to be done to bring the school up to code? That is the question.
We'll share that during our report.
Okay. So I think, and I tried to find that and I couldn't. You know, and the next thing, the bickering between board members. I almost stood up last time, and my wife, probably if I hadn't been holding her hand, would have. Being a teacher, you two are like kindergartners saying my dad is going to beat up your dad. You're adults, act like it. Thank you.
Move on to item number 7, special presentation, PTO donation.
And on that note, I'm Donna Nelson, kindergarten teacher, longtime PTO member. With me is Mary Dahl. She is the PTO chairperson, and Dan Lesniak, who is the PTO president. Treasurer, I'm sorry. Mary's going to tell you a little bit more about what's been happening.
All right. Well, everybody knows what PTO is. It's a group of parents, teachers, staff. We do fundraising. We do several things for the school. We do scholarships. We provide funding for field trips, mini grants, several activities at the elementary school, sock hop, fun night, and we also honor certain requests at our monthly meetings, just for smaller dollar amounts. Teachers can come, other staff can come, principals can come and just ask us for a specific request for something they need. For our fundraiser this year, we actually did a little bit better than last year. So we've increased our donation to 18,000 this year. And it's been 18,000 in the past, but the past several years have been down. So that was the pizza sale. Anybody ordered from that? And we're always looking for new members, new ideas. Anybody can come. Our meetings are the second Monday of every month except for December. So our reward show for the kids this year was a magician. And he also was a motivational speaker about bullying. So and that was for the middle school and the elementary school. Okay. Any questions on anything?
No, really
For $18,000 to be split evenly amongst the 3 schools for enrichment activities for children.
And this is the check for show, and we also have the check for.
This
goes to Brent.
Yeah,
For good.
Trent.
The actual real cashable check.
No, I don't want to follow
Get the Aaron
Bob.
Rodgers stand right in between him in the background.
We need to put this on social media, I got it.
Absolutely,
Yep.
right? Our social media guy.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Dan.
Thank you.
I'm sure the schools have plenty of ideas on how to put that to use, so thank you.
We do, thank you so much.
Moving on to the agenda, item number 8, which is our student board member report. Ms. Pennell?
Okay, so getting into it, I'm starting with the mascot report. So the update is that we currently have all the data back from students, staff, and community. We have compiled it and we are currently analyzing it. At the December 19th Board of Education meeting, we'll be asking this Board of Education for an answer whether we are allowed to change a mascot or not. So club reports. The Library Club is having their book fair on December 1st and 2nd from 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. in the high school IMC, which is a library. DECA has been really busy with DECA Week, Trick or Can from Halloween, DECA Dodgeball, and also the recent conference ELC, Emerging Leaders Conference. They also brought in a concert, Tonic Soulfall, for MDA and donated all the funds to, it's actually not on here, but, sorry, MDA, sorry. I'm thinking bulk motion, thank you though. They also made a promotional video for the conference and it's pretty cool. FCCLA had their Orange for Hope Day last week. They allowed students to wear hats and donate canned food items. They'll be having their Christmas sale on December 2nd, 2017 with the Mosinee Area Chamber of Commerce. There's actually a really large craft sale school-wide on December 2nd. Local Motion, we had a very successful variety show and gained approximately $5,500 to go to hurricane relief. FFA Club sent 14 students to nationals. They're also hosting their annual Big Buck contest, where students who hunt can submit pictures of their deer. The top 3 bucks win gift cards for stores such as Chase Outdoors or other stores that outdoors will enjoy. NHS will be having a Noodles fundraiser. The date is to be determined. They will also be making blankets for the palliative of care unit at Aspirus. One Act Play went to state after excellent performances at both regionals and sectionals. They won every award possible as well as 7 individual acting awards.
Amazing.
They do well every year. They always advance the state. So volleyball ended their season with a great run in the playoffs. They were 2 wins away from going to state. They were both conference and regional champs. Boys, girls, basketball, gymnastics, hockey, wrestling, and wrestling started practicing this month. Winter events in Mosinee kick off tonight at the boys hockey game against West Salem and girls basketball against Adams Friendship. Oh, also the Storm will host the Gobbler Cup in Mosinee next weekend, November 24th and 25th, so I guess it's a hockey tournament. And I guess congratulations is in order to former Mosinee football head coach Paul Nowinski for being inducted into the Wisconsin Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Sorry, I know there's a lot of information.
Questions from the board for Ms. Pennell? Thank you for the update.
Thank you all.
And on to item number 9, which is old business. The first item is the discussion and possible decision. Facility planning, financing a high school science room solution.
You presented, you know.
So essentially what I attempted to kind of capture here is just a little bit of a reminder of last month where we went through the process of information that's being presented for you. And part of that is kind of a review. Again, everything that's compiled in here is based off of that CISA 10 report that's linked there. I'll share a little bit later about that as well, of just trying to put maybe a little bit different view on what that report is. And again, just to recap last month's presentation, really the goal of this is to give you the information on both plans and essentially lay out the domino effect that the $4 million plan encompasses. So everything kind of based off of that, again, we've got the two options, the remodel, taking the existing classrooms and remodeling that space, compared to the new option, adding the additional rooms on, right now where the parking lot portable area is, and really capturing the existing rooms, the existing science rooms, and reusing them for a multitude of purposes.
The portable will be gone.
Portable would be gone, correct. And the classes that are currently residing in the portable would come into the old science rooms as part of that. So really the goal last time was to kind of give you a visual of that space. I took the questions that you guys had and have brought to either Ann or I and attempted to answer them as straightforward as possible. I know we don't need a powerful visual, but I threw it in just to certainly remind us of what we're dealing with in the science rooms and the culmination of really the issues that we have in front of us. You know, Mr. Fitzgerald mentioned certainly a problem that's existed for a long time. Between those areas, I mean, I think it's certainly the pictures speak for themselves of the need to address this. One of the questions that was brought to us was option B, learning benefits, were included in the last presentation. Option A, which is the remodel, was not. So what I did is I went back to our science teachers and asked them to really pull out what benefits occur for both of the plans, to give both plans the fair light on this, and what benefits are really specific to option B. A couple of highlights, and then I'll certainly throw it to the science teachers to add any inputs on this. The ability to say the lab stations will look differently, or will look different, is the biggest piece that really both plans will accomplish. And the reasoning behind that is right now a lot of our science rooms have the stations around the outsides of the rooms, where now in both plans you're talking about having islands that allow teachers to see what's going on there without having to stand, say, on the end of the line, like I would stand here and have to look down at all of you. Both those plans encompass it. Some of the things that I would highlight to you that still are not included in that option A, and you see the difference in size there, certainly the ADA compliance that Mrs. Wheelock mentioned at the last board meeting still remains an issue in option A. And again, you're addressing that in option B because of the addition of bathrooms potentially in the new addition that would allow you to have some ADA compliance and the space and the ability to move around and have lab stations spaced out a little bit more. The ADA compliance certainly in option B is something to point to. Science teachers, I don't know if there's anything, Mr. Lai, Mrs. Wheelock, Mrs. Natsky, welcome. If there's anything that any of you would like to add, certainly feel free.
Well, first of all, do you have any questions of us? Again, I know there's a lot of information up there. I can echo some of the things that we said last time. I can echo some of the things that Mr. Fitzgerald spoke about. I have a daughter that went through a different school district. The facilities are a little more modern. It's not that our facilities currently are not getting the kids to learn science and help them learn science. I think what we want to look at is how much better can it be with the option where we're adding on those 5 rooms. Not only will it help the science students, it'll help other subject areas. We've talked about how it's going to help out tech ed, and I know that's something that is important for us, especially in Marathon County. It's going to free up space for them to actually have a classroom as opposed to trying to have class right in the metal shop. I've subbed in the metal shop for Mr. Komoshina, and it's hard when you're trying to explain stuff and kids are welding and cutting metals and things of that nature. So another aspect, Brady talked about that we're going to get students out of a portable. I subbed in the portable the other day. I'm very, very sensitive to mold and mildew. As soon as you walk into the portables, it's the first thing I can smell. I don't have an allergic reaction to it, but it's an old portable. It's an old temporary building. And so to get those students into the building, I think would be a big thing. They're going to feel more part of the school. One of the things I spent a lot of time thinking about is how can I quantify to you, how can I put a number? Like if I wanted to make an analogy, if I wanted to cut my lawn faster, I would get a lawnmower that was bigger. It's not quite that easy to quantify how will this make students in Mosinee learn science better. I think I look at it this way. It's a much better option, and it also helps other areas besides science. And it is a large difference in dollar amounts, 1.2 compared to the 4.2, but I think if you look at some of the other things that it does for us, besides getting us quality, updated lab facilities, it helps other areas on that CISA report that we've talked about that we want to take care of. So, thank you. And again, I also want to echo from what Mr. Fitzgerald said. As a science department, we really do appreciate you considering this because we know it is a tough decision. But thank you.
One of the other questions that was brought to us was a change in curriculum. What curriculum needs can be met that are not currently met or would not be possible in a remodel option? So in fairness to both plans there, I threw out some of the science teachers' comments here. Access to fume hoods would be available in both of them, really open up possibilities. Right now, our fume hoods are very limited. It limits what can be done in certain rooms. Mrs. Natsky has to go to a different room, set something up where she has access to a fume hood currently. So both plans would allow that. A vacuum filtration unit system put in place to essentially suck off any of the potentially harmful chemicals is part of this. The ability to share some pretty expensive equipment, the veneer equipment and the chemistry equipment, is just not feasible right now because of the space between where the science rooms are. And we're not talking hundreds of dollars of equipment, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars of equipment right now that's very difficult to share because of the layout of where the rooms are. And I go back to last time we had talked about being able to group teachers by their subject areas is a very difficult thing to quantify. New schools are built that way. We don't have that luxury right now because of the kind of piecemeal nature of our current class setups. This certainly, the second option certainly allows that to happen a lot easier than the first option. The ability to group your social studies, group your math, group your science teachers together. And then the last piece is an access to a greenhouse. We've got an AP environmental science class. It is not feasible right now for Mrs. Wheelock to move literally the farthest spot across the school to be able to get to it in a class period in a reasonable amount of time. So the ability to have closer locations to it, closer access to be able to use that is certainly a big piece. And again, we talked about this last time, but just to put it in one simple slide, a clear visual of what the option B domino effects are. That really is the difference between those plans at the end of the day. The secondary benefits. Anything marked in red is essentially an area that would change into something else. Sir Lai mentioned 408 becoming a metal classroom. My department going back to the band room and us taking over one of the places that's currently a space for a classroom. The ability to move driver's ed out of the portable, the ability to move SPED out of the portable, and then the ability to basically move your math and English departments out of carts and out of areas right now that are less than convenient, and kind of again accomplish the ability to have them put back into an area with their peers, an area with the other classes. So let me change a couple things here. I've got two pieces that I want to lay out just to be clear on this. We've talked about it, and if we have time, I'll circle back to it. The need for additional classrooms is a big piece to it. So the ability to say from Mr. Mosinee and the ability to say from Mr. Campbell, what is it that we are trying to gain out of this? What is the piece to it that really you're going to be able to pick up from it? And I'll cycle back to these just so you can kind of see which pieces kind of make the most sense. Last time Diane had asked about hearing from them and being able to kind of hear the piece from their story. So I'd like to come back to that here in a minute and give you kind of a picture to it. After you see what the space is, this was some questions that again had gotten asked. What really is the difference between these two plans when it boils down? Obviously the money part is a big piece. This is the total bond amount, so with the bond costs in there. Some of the questions that some of you had brought to us. New square footage, obviously there's a significant difference in new square footage. Overall alteration square footage, there's a significant difference there. There's currently roughly 6,000 square feet of old science rooms that would be renovated under option A. When you start talking of alteration space in option B, obviously that number goes up. And then the other piece to it is total square footage that you're dealing with. I think that's an important piece to kind of unwrap the onion on too, because you're really talking about a third more space. Not just the secondary benefits of option B, but really a third more space you're talking about with that second plan. So those are big pieces to it. The one thing I'd like to just give you a minute to also go over, one of the questions that we've talked about is going back to that CISA report, and Mr. Ashton had mentioned earlier in the public forum the difference in kind of following that CISA plan as a guideline, and I know you've all seen it. One of the questions that came up at the last meeting was trying to maybe put it in a little simpler context because there is so much information in there. So I guess my attempt is to say on this, I basically pulled the top 10 events out of each of the 3 buildings. The colors that are listed on the right-hand side show you what is the process. It's difficult to say that project is accomplished or not accomplished because there are so many moving parts to that. You can't put check boxes in all of that. But essentially on the right-hand side, it gives you kind of a status update on that. Anything that you see highlighted in yellow is a project that has not been touched. This is not obviously the full report. I literally, to be fair to all 3 schools, took a top 10. Anything that's in really the purple and the greens that you see on there are some of the new projects going on. So some of it's with the Nexus Energy exemption piece. Some of it is with the possibility of science room alteration.